Hello, happy late Sunday evening over here. I'm coming in just for our week ahead card pull. It is Mother's Day and it has been a very beautiful, very full day and actually several days over here. So I wanted to come in. First of all, happy Mother's Day to all of the mothers and mother figures and those who play that invaluable role in any way. Happy Mutter's Day for the fur baby mamas and all. So, just sending out love. I know I posted some things earlier today in that energy. We have here the Mother Mary Harbor Light energy for all those who are mothers and need of mothering, for inner child, a lot of emotions of all kinds coming forward here. And in fact, these two beautiful candles I chose are in honor of angel mamas in heaven, especially thinking tonight of my beautiful friend Barb and her children, now 4 weeks after her passing, their first Mother's Day with her in heaven. So for her and all mothers who aren't with us physically, but in spirit, I have those candles there in remembrance. And so I wanted to come in and just pull our cards. I'm not going to do the messages until tomorrow because it is late. And as I say, it's been very full. And speaking of full, we have a full moon tomorrow, Monday in Scorpio. So that means we have 3 decks we're pulling from this week. We're going to pull a Queen of the Moon Oracle card for that full moon to kick us off. Then we will pull our 5 Tarot of Oneness cards for our week ahead spread and finish with an Oracle of Oneness card pull for a final message for us this week. So, full moon in Scorpio. I'll talk about that a little bit with the energetic weather. Also, tomorrow I'm going to be recording the full moon in Scorpio reading. So if anyone is not already with me for the empowerment pack, you're welcome to join us for that full moon empowerment reading. We'll be diving into part 1 tomorrow. And then on the other side of it will be your personal full moon card. So I will put the information there in case you want to join for that. So as I mentioned, it's been really wild here. Last week I said, I knew that the cards we had last week with all of the pentacles and the juggling and the finding, making it all work. My oldest, Jillian, was, finished her first year of college. We were heading to pick her up, which we did, and it was a success. The car was packed. Cooper, especially my dog, was thrilled that she was home. It was a wonderful homecoming. Somewhere along the line there, as we were unloading the car, we might have bumped the light or something that the battery of that car died, but we did not know that until Friday, rainy Friday of prom weekend for my next daughter, that we were needing to run errands and discover we were 1 car down with the battery dead. So my oldest took my husband's beloved Bronco out for the errands and unfortunately had a fender bender. So she was hit by another car. Thankfully, there wasn't, no one was hurt and it was minimal damage, but it was a real interesting turn of events, all the things aligning in that moment. And it's funny because it was the Action of Wands on Friday was the card we had. And, that can be an energy of literally crashing and burning, a little bit of impulsive, like moving quickly, fiery things happening, movement, so it was really interesting how it showed up over here and sort of kind of set things off schedule a bit, obviously, with moving everything around. So that's why if you were waiting for a card pull last week, or in the case of the full moon reading, it's all happening this week. So thank you all for your patience and flexibility and divine timing. I'm just happy to report that all is well and that this is life. This is life. And this is why we use the tools of the tarot, the cards, the astrology, the different aspects that can help us to step into a week empowered with some awareness. And even though Mercury is direct, not in retrograde, we experience some of those types of things over here. So I hope you're well. Let's get into it now with our Queen of the Moon card pull. This is going to be the card that kicks off that full moon empowerment reading tomorrow. We'll focus around this card as an overarching energy for this Scorpio full moon. So Scorpio full moon, Taurus sun, bringing some interesting layers and opportunities for healing, for death, rebirth energy. So like I said, I'll touch on that a little bit in our energetic weather here for the week, and then we'll dive deep in the empowerment reading. So let's see, what's the card that's going to start that conversation? I feel that, oh, wow, this came up on Stars and Cards for the May energy. We got this card, self-reflection. And we were tapping into, for the 2 lunations of May, as well as so we had the new moon in Taurus 2 weeks ago, now the full moon in Scorpio, and then we'll have a new moon in Gemini at the end of the month. And so we pulled this card, bringing in the energies of all 3 of those lunations, because it was even ahead of that Taurus new moon. And this brought through some really interesting things. So this week, Mila and I will be going live on Instagram on Wednesday, probably around 12 or 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll update you guys when I know for sure, probably 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But we'll be going live and we'll be talking about these lunations and the energies that came forward for May, kind of a mid-month check-in. So very interesting that this same card comes forward now for this full moon in Scorpio. So we'll talk a little bit about it here. And like I said, we covered a bunch intuitively what was coming forward and bringing in the stars and everything with it as well. If you didn't check out that Stars and Cards episode, it's over on my YouTube channel. So very interesting. We'll get into that self-reflection. That was the one where I brought forward Meatloaf's song, "Objects in the Rearview Mirror May Appear Closer Than They Are." So definitely a lot of reflection, layers, things coming up. Watery Scorpio full moon. Very interesting that we get that again. Okay, so let's shuffle up for our 5 cards. And again, if you would like a personal card pull this week, please feel free to let me know whatever way works for you. It'll probably be midweek, just with everything, all the catch up and things going on here for the full moon and such. But feel free to reach out, especially if any of these cards, as we pull the 5 cards here for the days of the week, are speaking to you. We can focus in a little more specific for you in a personal card pull that I will record and send to you here on Marco Polo. Okay, so Monday kicks off the week. It's full moon day. So what's coming up here with that Scorpio full moon? Second full week of May. Gosh, I almost said June. Getting ahead of myself now. Here we go. Ooh, wow. Okay, talk about metamorphosis. Talk about where are we in that cycle? And this is the World card, the final card of the major arcana, the culmination, completion, endings, and new beginnings. Beautiful. Wow. Really beautiful. So that's gorgeous to bring in some energy there. And let's see, Tuesday, potential block or challenge. Potential block or challenge. Inspiration of Pentacles. So this is like the Page of Pentacles as a potential block or challenge. Yeah, I just saw this card. It was not in our group spread, so it must have been in somebody's personal reading, but that is definitely an energy of some tangible things that are coming up, and also some ideas and new information, things that are coming about, inspiration, as it says in Pentacles, which is the money, the safety, the security, the materialization of things, potentially being a challenge. So we'll talk about that. Then we have Wednesday as a midweek blessing. Midweek blessing. 2 of Pentacles. Okay, so we had this card last week. All right, I'm going to have to double check. Mercury is direct. It is not Mercury retrograde, but come on, now my technology's playing up. We have travel difficulties, automobile accident. Now I have my polo cutting off in mid-sentence. So that's interesting. A little bit of snafus going on there. So I was just saying that we pulled Wednesday's card and we have the 2 of Pentacles, which is the same position it was in last week. Last week we had 3 2, 4 of Pentacles in a row. And so this is the same position. It was to be a blessing, the juggling of, the chopping wood and carrying water, the day-to-day Pentacles stuff, and the more energetic, ethereal, energy, spiritual things, the lighter stuff, and just finding that balance. And I mean, I'm literally here doing it now. Like my mom literally left and I came in here and I reset everything and got ready to come on here just to do a little juggle. There's showers going on and getting ready for school tomorrow and just throwing the pins in the air all while the technology plays up. So finding the blessing in all of that, in things that can be overwhelming and stressful and a lot to handle. So interesting, again, how tarot to life, playing up here. So I guess I better keep shuffling just in case we get cut off again. We're into Thursday now for how we are growing. So we just have 3 more cards to pull: Thursday, Friday, and our Oracle of Oneness. So let's see. Thursday. Ooh, 7 of Cups, a card of wishes and choices and things to choose from, where some of those things we may not be able to see fully what all we're choosing. So that's interesting. And I love the way it's depicted here. So we'll talk about that when we get into that Thursday energy, how we are growing. Again, it involves having to make choices and make moves, take steps without being able to see the full contents. And again, objects in the mirror, they may appear closer than they are. It's difficult to see with clarity or perhaps knowing, and yet this is a full moon coming in. So there is some illumination and potential, but the Scorpio adds that layer of mystery and a layer of, not necessarily knowing exactly what's coming up. So we'll feel into that. Friday wraps it up for us this week with the tarot energy. So let's see what's coming in there. Ooh, Action of Cups now. So remember, this deck beautifully renames the court cards. We have the Inspiration, Page of Pentacles, and now the Action, Knight of Cups. Again, a lot of water then, bringing in with the self-reflection, and here with the action of heart, the action of feels, the action of flow, coming in and opening up and illuminating, again, new pathways and ways forward, blooming, and yet we may or may not yet be able to see what's at the other end. So we'll feel into those cards coming up together, see what story we're getting there for us collectively this week. Let's finish things off with an Oracle of Oneness card. So this will be our bonus message here to wrap up the week. Finish up what's coming forward with this beautiful new Oracle of Oneness. Been enjoying discovering this, exploring it together. See what comes up here for our group. Ooh, 7. Your significance is beyond measure. So we have 2 7s this week. A 17. Wow. Okay. So we have a 7 here. So there's significance amongst the crowd in pulling you out. That's so funny because I've heard a couple times today, the ABBA song, Somewhere in the Crowd, There's You. I don't know, Super Trooper. Yeah. So anyway, a little moment there that I'm like, where did I hear that phrase today? Somewhere in the crowd, there's you, and it's significant beyond measure. You matter, and there's something really special about that. So we'll talk about that as well when we get into all of these cards for the week ahead. So again, thank you all so much for being here. I'm going to leave it here. I'm going to come in, talk a little bit about the full moon, just so you have that information heading into Monday, full moon day. And we'll pick back up tomorrow to feel into these messages and see what's coming up. So again, if you would like a personal card pull this week, please feel free to let me know. If you're interested in joining for the full moon empowerment reading, I'll put that link here. And I'm sending you all much love, many blessings. We'll talk tomorrow. Okay, some energetic weather as we step into this week. We are starting things off on Monday, May 12th, with a full moon in Scorpio. So a Scorpio full moon is always one of the most magical and mystical of the year. In traditional astrology, the moon in Scorpio is said to be an unfavorable position. However, there really are some deeper layers that can be activated here. So we don't want to, just look a gift horse in the mouth, as they say, because a Scorpio represents transformation and the cycles of death and rebirth. With the moon in Scorpio, we have the potential to peel back the deepest layers and find a new wisdom or a new way of being. And peeling back layers can be a painful process, and it can stir up a lot of lingering emotions, but there's also a magic to digging deeper and allowing ourselves to access more hidden parts of our being. This 2025 Scorpio full moon, it's a great time to let any heaviness go and to focus on release work. Our attention is very much going to be centered around our emotions, and that makes a lot of sense looking at some of these cards that came up. We have a couple of cups cards on the altar this week, not to mention that self-reflection coming up from the Queen of the Moon, which is just water up to the eyeballs there. So it's definitely showing a lot of the feels. So being centered around our emotions, but we may also find ourselves experiencing a deep aha moment as well. So there we go. We have that light bulb moment coming up on that inspiration of Pentacles for Tuesday, a potential challenge. So yeah, that can be challenging because the deep aha moment can also, again, unearth some deeper layers, some other awarenesses. Uranus is active under this full moon too, so that's indicating some instability or restlessness. But it seems the more that we can be real with ourselves and how we are feeling, the easier time we will have navigating whatever unfolds. So like I said, I'm going to be diving into this tomorrow on Monday. I'm recording this Sunday evening. So if you would like to come along anytime you're hearing this week, you are welcome to jump in for the full moon empowerment reading. So again, I'll share that link here so you can join if you would like to go deeper. It's a beautiful full moon to really get into some of that shadow work for sure. Now, also this week, May 15th through the 17th, we have the Algol Gateway. Now, the Algol Gateway is activated by the sun aligning with the fixed star Algol. Algol is one of the most notorious stars in astrology. However, its reputation is largely misguided. Algol, which I don't know if I'm pronouncing it properly, but Algol, A-L-G-O-L, represents the power we obtain after moving through that cycle of death and rebirth. Algol is closely linked with the myth of Medusa. Now, Medusa began as an oracle goddess, but was turned into a gorgon with the head of snakes. And through this metamorphosis, however, she only became stronger. And this is the essence of Algol. It teaches us to find our strength and power no matter the transformations that have found us. So again, starting this week on that full moon Monday with the world featuring all of those beautiful butterflies and that metamorphosis process is very interesting to see where it all goes as we feel into the energetic weather as well. Now, I'll also share as we head into next weekend, May 17th, Venus leaves the shadow phase. So, Venus had been retrograde. She's stationed direct, but then she has that post-retrograde shadow phase. Well, she's finally leaving that now, returning to her former strength and a new territory in our cosmic skies. So as she steps into that, Venus leaving her shadow phase can bring a final resolution and conclusion to matters of the heart that have been stirring since February. So we'll take a look here in the ways that we may expect that to impact us on the other side. So we're feeling into things that may have been stirring since February and March. So again, think into those 2 months, kind of things that were coming up during that period. Consider this a graduation point when it comes to our heart space. So hopefully we're all able to feel more confident when it comes to our relationships and the giving and receiving of love in our lives. And we may also receive some good news about our finances. Woohoo, that would be fantastic. Or feel more empowered by our financial situation. So again, money issues and financial things that may have been stunted or, kind of in a holding pattern could have some forward moving momentum now this week as well. And that's promising with 2 Pentacles cards coming up for us this week to get into too. All right, I'm going to leave it here. So if you hear this before Monday, I'll be back. Otherwise, it may be seamless for you, but we'll be diving into our intuitive card messages for the week starting on Monday tomorrow. So thank you all so much for being here, and we will chat soon. Much love. Okay, happy Moon Day, coming in here now on Monday late afternoon to tune into this Queen of the Moon Oracle energy that came forward again for today's happening now, live in progress, full moon in Scorpio. So last night we tuned in for our week ahead, our collective messages. We wanted to pull a card for the overarching energy of this full moon, and we got self-reflection, card number 17. And as I mentioned, this same card came up when Mila and I tuned in for Stars and Cards just a couple weeks ago, right before the new moon in Taurus. We pulled this same card. So I just spent the day tuning into this moon energy. I recorded the empowerment reading for the full moon just while the full moon was peaking this afternoon here, 12:56 p.m. my local time, Eastern Standard Time. So this evening is the time that we'll really see that beautiful full flower moon. And there's plenty of time to be getting into the energies of this full moon and how you can work with it. And as I mentioned previously and shared the link here, if you would like to join for that full moon empowerment reading, feel free to check out the link, reach out to me, and I will send that right over to you. Has the ritual in it, along with the 5-card spread that I did and a deep dive into this oracle card, as well as another one, beautiful and very aligned card that came forward from the Oracle of Awakening. So that's all available. But tuning in just lightly into this self-reflection card, this is the one that has this mantra that says, I am not afraid to look deeply at myself in all aspects. Really spot on, because this Scorpio full moon, as I was sharing in the energetic weather for this week, all about healing happening in layers and peeling back the layers and revealing new things to the surface, perhaps coming around again, but from these higher points of visibility, because we've been doing the work. We've been in the trenches, right? So the learning, the growing, the healing, the expanding that has been taking place for all of us. I'm seeing this picture sort of like if we were to pull the plug from the bottom, and all that water, which is akin to emotion, feels, flow, the heart chakra, from all these different angles. Here we can see 4 of them in her reflection, and they're all connected. So there's a lot to consider here in terms of looking at ourself openly and, unabashedly. We're not afraid to see ourself in all aspects. So it's talking about being curious about your own nature, choosing to turn inward to quietly contemplate who and what you are and what it is that you want. The more you know about yourself, the more you're able to steer yourself well. Know what you believe and why, yet be open to the development of new beliefs and ways of being. So tons of parallels came through in that full moon empowerment reading I did. We got 2 cards that were number 17. The number 17 kept coming up in terms of it was 12:17 p.m., then it was 1:17 p.m. Like we just kept coming around, not to mention several of our cards this week that we're about to dive into were either also came up in that reading or reflected in the messages that we're getting this week and how they tie into this full moon. So, that really kind of gets us started as we enter into this week and the way that we may find all of these energies unfolding for us collectively. So let's start with Monday and take a look at what's setting the tone here over this full flower moon in Scorpio for the week to come. All right, let's take a look at our first tarot card for the week here on Monday, full moon day. We got the card of cards, the World, the final card of the major arcana in the tarot, beautiful and so symbolic because it is about culmination and completion and endings of chapters. And in this case, a lot of amazing symbolism with all of these butterflies in various stages here, ascending up into the clouds that we meet here on a full moon, which is the closing out of a lunar cycle and, initiating the beginning of a new cycle. So that's exactly what this card reflects. And we can tap into those energies of wholeness, completion, achievement, joy, unity and success, abundance. It can represent literally traveling the world, the end of a journey, having a sense of belonging. So there's a lot of fullness coming in here quite appropriately, right? So as we tune into the tarot of oneness, it says this is the moment when you become aware of your profound connection to all things. It's where your physical reality integrates with your higher self. You can see the cycles in life and recognize that the end of one journey leads beautifully into new adventures of learning and growth. The World card pops up when you have reached a major milestone or when a long-standing dream is becoming a reality. It could be a marriage, the birth of a child, the completion of a huge project, graduation in some other huge accomplishment. Remember to acknowledge your achievements before diving into something new. You deserve to bask in the glow of wholeness and fulfillment. So that's really exciting, right? That sounds amazing. And we might be like, I don't know, that my big ship has not come in. I don't necessarily see the end of my project yet, or my big idea or the thing. Which could mean that's what's on the other side of finishing out this cycle of doubt or lack or, feeling lost or unfocused or whatever it may be that's that hanging on as that block or barrier from taking it to the next level, from, turning that notch. And, we'll talk about that when we look at Tuesday's potential block or challenge being the inspiration of Pentacles, and the way in which that could be playing up. Now, there's some symbols here, and I don't know if you noticed the cloud shapes. So we have the shapes, which are actually a nod to the traditional world card, where in the corners of the card, we see the fixed signs of the zodiac. So there is a nice homage to that here with these 4 cloud shapes, which represent the bull, cherub, eagle, and lion. It says the shapes of these clouds symbolize the cyclical nature of life and progressing through its cycles. They represent the 4 fixed signs of the zodiac. So Leo, Taurus, Aquarius, and Scorpio, which of course we have the full moon happening in today. So they also represent the elements, the suits of the tarot, the 4 compass points, and the 4 seasons. Remember that number 4 is all about the structure, the stability, the legwork, the foundation, so this is where it's at. I mean, this is, like I say, an amazing card to be coming up here on this full moon. Then we bring in the monarch butterfly symbolism, and it's saying these beauties migrate huge distances, traveling up to 3,000 miles, journeying from where they breed in eastern and central North America to where they hibernate in the mountains of central Mexico. They do this using pure instinct, suspected to come from a combination of celestial clues, sun, moon, and stars, the Earth's magnetic field, polarized light, and other phenomena. So they're responding to those natural celestial impulses and cues. They represent the end of a long journey that has resulted in transformation. Completing this cycle enables you to start a fresh new one. So however you're arriving to Monday, to the Scorpio full moon, to the end of this particular cycle, wherever you are, there is this period to just be in it and allow yourself to rest, recharge, reset, and be prepared for something new. No matter what, something is changing and there's new on the other side. So let's take a look at the Tuesday card for a potential block or challenge to these energies this week and how we can best navigate those. Coming right up. Now, Tuesday is bringing in a potential block or challenge this week. We've got the Inspiration of Pentacles, which, as I was sharing in the card pull, again with this deck, brilliantly is using these alternative identities for traditionally the court card. So this is like the Page of Pentacles, the Inspiration of Pentacles, which is beautiful. And we see here, there's a light bulb over this open book. We have the fungi happening over here and some floral natural background. So there's a lot of symbolism in this earth element card. The pentacles are the earth element. You probably heard me say a time or two, pentacles are the slowest moving suit of the tarot. So it's earth, it's dense, it's manifest, it's material. So it takes the longest. The physical is the last thing to materialize. So that means what I'm getting, and now factoring in what I know came up for our full moon empowerment reading I did this morning over the full moon, patience, things not happening maybe as quickly as we'd like. Things not moving along quite as expediently as preferred, right? So it can be that sort of slow and steady, one thing at a time, one drop in the bucket, one seed, one coin, one deposit, which can be frustrating if we feel like it's been a long, slow process. So there can be a sense of impatience maybe for some. It can also speak to procrastination, just waiting for the motivation to arrive. Like, when am I going to get my spark? When am I going to get my inspiration of pentacles? Because I sure could use some of both, right? A little bit of inspiration and some pentacles in the bank account. However it might be showing up, when it's challenged, it can be like procrastination, a lack of progress. It can be trying too hard. Lost sight of original inspiration. So what am I doing this for? What is this all for? To what end? That type of questioning. A reminder to be open-minded. I love the symbolism of the open book, of the light bulb. Those things are symbolizing the open book. Inspiration can come from learning new things. And so the book that's on this card is all about putting yourself in the role of student and leveling up your education, your knowledge. Well, last week we had Hierophant. We talked a lot about that student, teacher, mentor, apprentice energy. So opportunities here to be maybe in that novice seat, the one who is learning something new, something you've never done before, or putting yourself out there, which can literally be, taking a class, a workshop, watching a documentary or something that schools you on something that you just didn't know, but also, so it can be formal, but also just, again, opening up a book or opening up yourself to a conversation or an opportunity, an experience that would help you to tap into some fresh energy that could bring new inspirations. The light bulb is symbolic of new ideas, aha moments, so these are all things that are coming up that are available, but we must be open to receive and have a willingness. So it says with the Inspiration of Pentacles, sitting in the soft grass on a warm summer day, you can't help but feel inspired by the book that you're reading. You're just brimming with new ideas on how to create financial abundance and live a happy, healthy life. Deeply connected to the earth you sit upon, there you know that manifesting your goals will be achievable if you remain grounded throughout the process. You may even need to take a class. Yes, we talked about that. Take a class, learn a new skill to give you the best possible chance for success. You have the ambition and the focus to turn these ideas into reality. They will require diligence and patience, there's that P word, but you've never shied away from hard work. So this is something that you can accomplish. So yeah, slow, steady, consistent, patience, and those are all words that can, meet us in various places and spaces. So that's coming forward as like a big part of the potential challenge this week for many is just the rate at which things are happening. But again, aha moments are possible. That light bulb going on. I think we talked about that when I was sharing in the energetic weather about this full moon in Scorpio as well, that in addition to peeling back those layers, doing the shadow work and the healing, all that's available right now. And you get to decide how deep you're going to go. Staying shallow on the surface, you may feel a little more challenged. Digging deep, getting into it, then there's great opportunities, not just for healing, creating space, but also maybe an aha moment or some new fresh inspiration to come through. So stay open to that where you can. Okay, so let's take a look now at our midweek blessing for Wednesday's card. All right, Wednesday's card is our midweek blessing back again. 2 of Pentacles. So last week, this is the same spot, I believe, that this card was in. We had the 3 of Pentacles as our potential block or challenge, the 2 of Pentacles as our midweek blessing, and then we had the 4 of Pentacles as how we were growing. So we had 3 Pentacles in a row. This week, we have 2 in a row, right? With this earth energy, with this slow and steady, with this tangible, with this Taurus season, all coming up. This is that one of juggling. Juggling, typically we're talking about 2 things. On one hand, we have the physical, the material, the day in, day out, the more mundane tasks. And then we have sort of like the energetic, ethereal, magical, whimsical, spiritual things, and that lightness, and trying to find that balance between the 2. We can actually see that there's a figure 8 here, and we've got these clubs being juggled with the 2 pentacles in the middle. So, again, I went all through this last week when we talked about this card in the same context as a midweek blessing. So there is juggling, there's balancing, there's managing of priorities, there's a call for being adaptable, time management, multitasking, feeling like we have little downtime, having a large workload, needing to practice patience and flexibility. Well, if things are moving slow, or we're feeling challenged or frustrated by the tangible progress, or spinning our wheels, or however it could be showing up for you, remember, it's going to be different for everybody. This is a collective reading. You're always invited to take what resonates, leave the rest. It's how it works. There's always someone else there to pick it up. But if there's certain things that are jumping out to you or really speaking to you, this is where you might want a personal card pull this week to kind of hone in on, how it's showing up for you, and maybe some best guidance on navigating. Here with this juggling, and we see clouds again, which is interesting. And I see clouds in actually 3 of our cards this week. Here, the symbol of the clouds is similar to the clouds in the sky. Your visualizations and fantasies are not solid and grounded at this time, continuously floating and changing. So it's nebulous, it's nebulous. We can't quite pin it down. It's in flux. And this is definitely confirming that 7 of Cups. And I'll give you a little spoiler alert. This is one of the cards that also came up in the full moon reading. So if I were to give you a little sneaky peeky, it's this card. So this card and this card are the same. 7 of Cups, choose wisely, because, that's how we're growing. Here, where we're talking about our midweek blessing, we might not be able to catch it all. We might not be able to pin it all down. But, we decide in this juggling act, in this shifting of resources and creating of space and energy. And, I think this is a busy time of year, just as it was talking about, the world was talking about it being graduation time. It is literally, in many places in the world. I know here, it's the season of grads and dads. We just had Mother's Day. So it's like that season of a lot of celebrations and acknowledgments, but graduations, a lot of college graduations happening in my newsfeed. Again, it just depends on your reality and what's around you in terms of that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a lot of kids wrapping up their school year, graduations, culminations. And so that brings in a lot of those little details. Like I said, we had prom weekend, and there was hair and nails and pictures and, all kinds of things that were a part of this process that are wonderful and can be very exciting. They can be very expensive. They can be, there's a lot. It's just a lot. It's a lot in the air, right? So where's the blessing in that? There's a lot of beauty in that. There's a lot of a call to be present and to be in the moment and to savor. And again, for as much as we sometimes feel stalled and that things aren't progressing, there's times where it's flying by so fast we can barely even grab on. So finding that balance, finding that equilibrium is key. And this is something that's a blessing to have maybe a moment. Again, practical ways it's happening. For me here, sports every day, every afternoon, double booked, triple booked. Well, there's rain in the forecast, and it may very well rain for the rest of the week. It's not raining now, but the rest of the week it could rain, and that will shift things. That's going to change the schedule. That's going to slow things down. But then it's going to build things up, because on the other end, there's going to be makeup games, and it's going to have to be rescheduled. Like my son, I think I mentioned here on the Sharecast, I was going to be chaperoning a trip last Friday. It ended up getting canceled because of the rain. It's been rescheduled to a later date. That's like the day after another trip that I'm chaperoning. So it's like the plates, right? You can feel that. And again, everybody's situations are different, but that's a practical tarot to life example of what these cards are saying. It doesn't have to be earth shattering. It doesn't have to be anything so significant. It's just life, right? And the juggling act and the understanding of the ebb and flow of energy and how things come along. And there's little graces, like I could be very grateful for that rain delay. Then on the back end, I might feel a little overwhelmed that it's very crowded. And again, things have to shift. So just kind of sharing just what's coming to me in terms of, ways I see it happening over here. Week 2 of this midweek blessing. So what's coming up for you? If you were to look back to last week, what would you say was your midweek blessing? And it doesn't have to be on Wednesday. That's just the position that we give the meaning on the card. But what came up for you last week in the realm of juggling things that perhaps now you see in it the blessing? And stay open to what that could be this week. Let's take a look now at this mystery card here with the 7 of Cups for Thursday. All right, Thursday is how we are growing, and we have this elusive 7 of Cups. And as I just shared on the Wednesday card, 7 of Cups also came up for our spread on the full moon empowerment reading in the first position, which was, what this full moon is illuminating and what's coming in. And it's choose wisely. It's choices. It's deciding with discernment, where to from here? What am I going to choose? Now, I would say, sometimes the 7 of Cups can have a little bit of that, sweat on the brow, like, whew, I hope I choose right, choose wisely, like, be careful. And there's this sense of like, you can even see here that we've got like the dragon. Oftentimes there's, there we go. There's the snake, the dragon. It's like, what's in there? I feel like I haven't told this story in a while, although I know many of you have heard it. My nature center story. So when I was a kid, for the first home where I was born, I lived for 3.5 years of my life. We were right next door to a nature center, and I spent a lot of time there, even after we moved, going back there and enjoying, and they had this beautiful, old, home that had all the different displays and exhibits and stuff. And they had these wooden boxes that had sort of like a fabric you stuck your hand through, and you were feeling inside. You couldn't see what was in there. You had to stick your hand in, and it could be snake skin. It could be a turtle shell. It could be a pine cone. So there was always this trepidation, because you're like, what's it going to be? And you kind of react at that feeling, because you can't see, right? But you have to choose. Where am I going to stick my hand? What's in there? And that's how I feel about the 7 of Cups a lot of times. And yet I love the whole, I'm on a hammock under a palm tree by the clear blue water, just chilling here with these cups. There's more of a relaxed nature to this. Whew, I like that, like the pressure comes off a little bit. I have to make a choice. Guidance is to choose wisely, right? And I interpret that choose wisely, not in like a choose wisely, you never know. But yeah, when I make my choice, I want it to be from my wise self, from the seat of my discerning, authentic, wise self, who's open to adventure, to whatever may come my way, because I trust that whatever I choose and whatever is in that box is going to be something that's going to help me learn, grow, heal, expand on my fool's journey. So take some of the pressure off. So maybe we're feeling that, like just a little bit of like relaxing into all of it, the possibilities, the choices, the new opportunities, the illusions even. Like we see something and we would swear that's it. That's the reality. That's the thing. They said, many people are saying this is it. But we know that that's not all there is, because self-reflection is telling us, look at it from all the angles. Look at it from every different which way, because it's going to change. So just stay open to possibility, to illusion, and recognizing that it's all about perspective, right? It can speak to unrealistic ideas and wishful thinking and not being grounded in reality, feet up off the ground. But in this case, we're growing. So if we're feeling into, and this card will say, the gentle sound of the ocean waves and the warm beach breeze, it's so soothing. How easy it is to drift off into dreamland, imagining all the possibilities. So the stuff of dreams, right? Imagination. Seven of Cups often indicates wishful thinking. Visualizing the achievement of goals is something you should definitely be doing. But remember that you must also take action to turn your dreams into reality. Boom. Ugh. Really? I have to do something? I can't just lay in this hammock and dream it up. You mean I got to get dirty? I got to get down to business? I got to take steps? That might feel like a challenge, right? It may feel like a block because I don't know what to do and I don't want to do the wrong thing. So I'm sort of in this in-between state. That's the way that it could be showing up for some people indecisively. So you have to take action to turn your dreams into reality. So also be mindful of what you wish for. Some things really are too good to be true. So be aware of that as well. You will be able to discern what is right by accessing your intuition. The opportunities that feel light will bring joy. Those that feel heavy are best avoided. So some guidance there, Here, the clouds are speaking to visualizations and fantasies not being solid or grounded. They continuously float and change. Again, nebulous. We're moving with it, right? So again, grow into that. And recognize that each thing that we find within every cup contains something that we can utilize. It's something that we're able to work with in this creation, co-creation with spirit of all the things that we're juggling and bringing forward and birthing new. Let's take a look now at Friday's card to wrap up the tarot messages, and then we have one last beautiful oracle card. I'm very curious to see what's coming through with that one too. All right, finally Friday. In the same way we had two Pentacles cards back to back, we had two Cups as well. So earth and water, plus we had the World kicking everything off. So we do have this sense of, again, the heart chakra, the feels, the flow, the emotions of it all coming in as the action of Cups. So once again, our court cards, inspiration of Pentacles, action of Cups, with inspiration being the pages, action being the knights. We had the action of Wands last week for Friday. So very similar, very interesting, the parallels to last week and what's coming up here this week. Action of Cups is like the Knight of Cups. So that's a card that speaks to romance, idealism, creativity, imagination, charm, being in touch with the feminine side, with the flow, with the feels, with the element of water, with reception, an open heart, in love with love itself. So there's a little bit of a romanticized, idealized potential nature here as well. But Action of Cups can also be the humanitarian, altruistic, compassionate, romantic, and being ruled by emotions. There's a lot of feel there. So this is saying that the scent of roses fills the air as red petals float lightly to the ground in front of you. The blue sky peeks through the canopy of flowers and the birds chirp happily overhead. The beauty is almost overwhelming. Your heart bursts with love and compassion. All of your senses are heightened and the magic of it all touches your heart. The Action of Cups represents someone who is led by imagination and love, with wonder, honesty, and vulnerability. They slowly move forward without clear direction. The opportunity to make a plan and take action is there, but that's not what the driving force is right now. Is this you, or perhaps is it someone around you? If that sounds familiar in any way, it also can be an approach that you would be served to take, if it doesn't quite fit. But, it typically is speaking to a personality or way of being, and it's saying to do things that bring you joy and help you to connect with others. Allow your emotions and intuition to guide you. it is possible that a romantic partner may be in your future. It's saying to keep your eyes open for someone who will fill your heart with love and compassion, bringing harmony into your life. So obviously that may not be for everyone, but it can speak to new relationships and existing relationships with new beginnings, new steps, action of love, of the heart, of feels. So, again, whether this represents you or someone else in your life, there's this silhouette, this shadow. And I love how this deck does that. We don't see an actual person, the actual horse. We're seeing the shadow, the silhouette. The calm presence of love has entered your energy field. So we see that on the path. The path goes ahead. We don't see where it leads. We don't know where it ends. Just like sticking our hand in there like, ooh, choose wisely. Choose with your heart. See how it feels inside, rather than just using the head and trying to analyze and choose what we think is the right choice or what someone else may want us to choose or something like that. So there's also a sense of, standing in your own authority and also, again, feeling into it. There's a very intuitive energy. And I would say that, Scorpio full moon, very much like thinning of the veil, connection with spirit, intuitive insights up. We have a lot of spiritual energy coming in around this. I see that our next card is going to be number 7. So that's an incredibly spiritual number. So there is a sense too of like trusting your heart, trusting your gut is what I'm feeling there as well. All right, let's wrap things up now with our Oracle of Oneness message. All right, our final card for our week's messages, we have number 7 from the Oracle of Oneness. And this is the card that says, your significance is beyond measure. The affirmations say, I am important. I am unique and valuable presence in this world. My presence matters. I am worthy of recognition. So there's something about sticking out amongst the crowd. And I think what we see here is there's one person with a baseball cap on, everybody else not having a cap on. So there's this sense of like something that makes you stand out, makes you unique in a crowd. Your significance is beyond measure. So it says, we all crave recognition and acknowledgement, whether it's a loving glance, a kind gesture, recognition for hard work, or simply being noticed when we walk into a room. Feeling insignificant is a limiting belief that can leave you feeling unimportant or unnoticed, potentially leading to isolation and sadness. At times, we become existential, questioning our purpose and how we fit into the bigger picture. With so many people in the world, it's no surprise that we can feel insignificant. It's helpful to remember that others feel the same way. You're not alone in your feelings. Practice compassionate self-talk. Speak to yourself as you would a child or a close friend. Journal, reach out for a conversation, and take the time to notice others. You matter. Let someone know how much they're appreciated. Tell them how meaningful their contributions are. You know the feeling of being seen. Offer that gift to someone else. It's a basic human desire, and we all deserve love and attention. This is a communal responsibility. We all play a part in reminding each other of our significance. Make eye contact, check in, and communicate. Point out people's strengths and show them they are needed and loved. Small efforts can have a profound impact. Feeling significant boosts dopamine, oxytocin, and serotonin, neurotransmitters that regulate mood and motivation. So yeah, as I was reading that, I was thinking about that. I'll try sometimes, like at the register, to look at the person, acknowledge them, see them and say hello, make eye contact, acknowledge that they're there and not just, checking you out and moving you along. And even if they're not particularly friendly, smiling can just really disarm a person who you have no idea what's going on with them. So just getting like a sense of like the impact that you have on others and being a trendsetter. Maybe you are the only one with that cap on, because you're really holding a frequency that you invite. I'm getting a little bit like Pied Piper, a little sense of like you're starting a conga line. Oh boy, they're playing with me. So it's like, yeah, like you're the one that's starting something and the momentum and the excitement and the high vibrational frequency, people people can't help but be attracted to it. Is everybody going to be attracted to it? Is every, register attendant going to smile back and warmly welcome your kindness? No. But that's not why you're doing it, right? We're not doing it for recognition. We're not necessarily doing something so that we can be applauded. It's about doing what we know is putting that drop in the bucket, that light out into the world, that's creating an invitation for others to join you and do the same. So there's a final thought here about where is the light? Light beams down on a sea of people. A reminder that we are all significant. Imagine how brilliant this card would look if it depicted the glorious light that surrounds each of us. The magnificence would be blinding. So yeah, if we all set out with that notion that like, okay, today I'm going to pay it forward. Today I'm going to make it my mission to do, 5 acts of kindness, whatever. Let's pick 7 with the number 7 here. 7 acts of kindness, 7 days a week, each day maybe, whatever speaks to you. I'm going to set out and I'm going to make somebody's day. I'm going to make them smile. I'm going to do something kind. I'm going to do something unsolicited. I'm going to do something that I don't have to do, but I'm doing it, in the spirit of raising the bar, raising the frequency. So there's a sense of, your significance and your significant kindness, your significant love and compassion makes magic in the world and is a ripple effect. So, a little message there to cap off the notion that, we get to decide how we're going to use our unique spark. And again, for the right reasons, for the reason, simply for the raising of the vibration of it all, not for the accolades, but the accolades will come. You will be seen and acknowledged in ways that maybe you never even know or never see coming, but that's not why we do it, right? We're creating this momentum. So I think that's a beautiful message to finish things off for this week. So once again, thank you. And I love the ability to just kind of be flexible and juggle those pins and just rearrange things when life doesn't happen the way that we planned and schedules get mucked up like mine did these last several days. I appreciate the flexibility and the ability to come in here and still get ourselves back on track. So here we are, a week ahead. If you would like a personal card pull, feel free to let me know if there's any specific areas you'd like to focus. If you want to join for the full moon empowerment reading, again, that link is back a couple polos, or just reach out. I've got that all ready to go for you to join us. All right, everybody, sending you much love, many full moon blessings. We'll talk soon.